I'm Ann Quincy. I am an attorney at the Legal Aid Society of Minneapolis. I've been there for about 15 years, but I graduated from law school about 25 years ago. And I've been doing Social Security disability work all since I graduated, basically. So this is primarily what I do. I also, as a piece of that, talk about public benefits like Medicaid, which here in Minnesota is called medical assistance. I know a little bit about Medicare because it comes into play in some Social Security cases. But I will tell you that as someone who works at Legal Aid, our services are for people who are very low income. And so I handle primarily SSI, Supplemental Security Income. And so the first thing that I like to be able to tell people about when we talk about Social Security is the difference between Social Security disability insurance, which is also a part of the retirement system that Social Security creates, and supplemental security income. Because once you see the difference between those two, many things will sort of fall away. You know, your fear that, oh my gosh, I understand I have to have almost no income, no assets. I have to spend down to poverty before I can get my Social Security. And that's not the case, okay? So what I like to do first is explain the difference. Most people know that the Social Security Administration runs programs that pay retirement benefits, survivor's benefits, you should die and leave minor children, the money that you've paid into the Social Security system, that's your FICA tax deduction off of your paycheck, is available to pay for your dependents' needs if you should die and leave minor children. And they also run disability insurance, okay? It's just like any other insurance system. You pay in, and you hope to take it out, or actually we all hope you'll never take it out. But the programs are separate in your account, okay? So if you need disability insurance, if you need to take out disability insurance, which we'll talk about is when you're disabled as a working aged person, you're not also dipping into your retirement account. And if you take out disability insurance and then should pass away, your survivors look at your account as if you didn't take anything out of it. It's not something that you draw down till it's empty, okay? In fact, all of these programs are fully funded for as long as you need them, long past after the amount you paid in is gone, okay? So all of these programs, retirement, survivors, and disability insurance, are based on your earnings, how long you've worked, and your eligible spouse's earnings and how long they worked, okay? Because just like your minor children might be your dependent, so are spouses, each other's dependents, okay? Oh no, sorry. Completely different than that, but also run by the Social Security Administration, created in the 70s, once the Social Security Administration decided that they had people paying in for retirement, survivors, and disability insurance, but what do we do about people who are elderly, disabled, or minor dependents if nobody paid in for them? They didn't work enough. They didn't have any money set aside into the insurance system. You're 65, you haven't been able to work for quite a while, you might get what they created, which is supplemental security income, okay? SSI is the program that's need-based. When we get to it towards the end, when we talk about income and asset requirements for these programs, we'll see that SSI counts any income you have from anywhere else. Social Security handles that differently. The SSDI part handles that differently. SSI counts assets, okay? Not a house you live in, but the house you own and rent, they count that, okay? Not SSDI, but SSI does. And as its name implies, it's an income program. It's actually a welfare program created by the federal government. But it supplements Social Security disability insurance if what you've paid in isn't quite enough. And it supplements other income. So how do I know which of these, if I became disabled, or when I plan on retiring, which of these I may need to rely on? The question would be, do I have enough work credits? Have I worked enough months, quarters of coverage, to earn my way onto SSDI for disability insurance? Or has my spouse earned enough in their account? Am I of the age that I can now apply on my spouse's account? Will my dependents get any benefits based on what I've paid in? Depends on whether you're insured. And how much will my monthly benefit be? You can find all of this on the Social Security benefit statement that Social Security promises to mail each of us every year, but actually when I talk to people, they've seen maybe 2 or 3 in their life. I think it has something to do with whenever you move, or I don't know. I get them very sporadically myself, and I haven't moved in years. But your Social Security benefit statement is a 3-page document that folds out, has a nice green stripe across the top. It's your Social Security benefit statement. It's not a general statement of how the Social Security fund is working. It's your benefit statement that tells you you've earned enough quarters of credit, work credit, to qualify for Social Security disability. If you were to retire at age 62, if you were to retire at age 67, if you were to become disabled, this is how much you would get each month. If you were to pass away, this is how much your children would get, okay? And it'll tell you how much your monthly benefit will be. You can also go online to the Social Security website, and as part of the reason that I hand this out, I really want to encourage people to explore the Social Security website. It's really quite user-friendly. They redesign it like every 3 years, but even the new redesign is still pretty good. You click around on it. Don't worry, you're not accessing your account, okay? You're not going to mess anything up, delete anything. You're not accessing your own. No one else is going to see your private information when they go in and explore the socialsecurity.gov. It's all quite secure. It's only when you actually begin to apply online that you will have a portal into the Social Security website where your information will be stored privately, totally confidentially, and you can access it, okay? But you can go online and learn a lot of general information about how the Social Security process works, the disability process or retirement process works, and there's a great tool called the Disability Planner, which if you go online to ssa.gov, which is what this gives you all the information about how to do that at the end, how you can find them. You can look up the Disability Planner, and it'll tell you what kind of things you need to put together if you want to figure out, should I apply now? Should I wait? What will happen when I apply? Okay.
So you can access your own personal records.
Once you've put in your own personal information, once you've accessed it, you have to gain an access. You have to get an access code. I don't think you have to actually apply to gain an access code, but once you get an access code, you can begin to see your information. It's very secure. So, applying for Social Security disability benefits, or SSI, it has to be in writing, but you can begin the process, even if you're just exploring the process, by phone or online, okay? You can access it online, or you can call the toll-free number and say, I'm considering applying for disability benefits. They'll set up an appointment for you on the phone where they call you, or you'll arrange a time where you're going to sit down and do the whole thing online. It's not complete until you sign the application, but that then backdates to what's called a protective filing date. It matters when you apply as to when you can be paid, okay? As they say with the lottery, you will not get paid if you don't apply. Social Security is not going to come to you when you are very sick and say, really think you need to apply now. We've got it halfway done, sign here. You have to reach out to Social Security and begin. But it matters when you apply. We'll talk about that later, so don't wait. Okay? If you're thinking about applying, don't wait. When should I be thinking about applying? You've completely stopped working. You should apply. Okay? You've decided to cut down on your work considerably. Your doctor has advised you to cut down on work, and before you go that step, you think, well, before I even tell the boss I'm going to be taking, half time, you can start. You can start the application. Okay? Or you start to think about either of those. Right? Again, don't wait. Social Security won't begin to pay you at an inappropriate time because you applied. Right? You can apply, then stop working or cut down work. If you're then found eligible, the back benefits that we talk about will go back to when you stopped work or worked below this level. It's called substantial gainful activity. The benefits will go back to that period and begin then. My experience with MOCA began when I had a friend who was part of your group a few years ago, and she came to me and said, you know about this stuff, should I apply? And I knew she'd already cut down work quite a bit. You really need to apply now. I know it's hard, I know it's a tough decision to make, but just start. Maybe great thing will happen, and they'll say, hey, you're not eligible, you're not disabled. Actually, she applied. They told her within about 3 weeks, and not only was she eligible now, but she had stopped working enough that she'd been eligible for the past 5 months. And they gave her first big check was one big back benefit check. And then she started on her monthly benefits and received those for the next few years. So, again, don't wait. What's going to happen when you apply? Again, the myth that I encounter about this most often is that people think, well, I'll just tell them that I have cancer and they'll send me a check. No, actually, it's a more involved process than that. You've got to provide medical records. You don't provide them. Social Security will gather your medical records. Social Security will look for certain diagnoses. We'll talk about that. What they will not do is just simply ask you, do you think you're disabled? You are not the decision maker here. They will not ask your doctor, do you think she's disabled or he is disabled? And many times I think this comes as a blow to people who've formed a very close relationship with their doctor, and it's their doctor who's telling them, oh, you're disabled now, you should apply. Okay, so I'm going to take Dr. So-and-so's letter right over to Social Security and show them my doctor says I'm disabled. Well, Social Security is responsible for determining disability, not your doctor and not you.
Are they medical people, though, the ones
Yes.
that are looking at this?
Yep. Yep. They're not treating doctors. They don't practice in the community. You don't know them. They don't know you, but they're doctors.
And it's based on your records.
Yep. Yep. So what are they doing when they put together this determination of disability? Where do they go with this? What are they doing? They ask 5 questions in order. You win at step 3, you're done. If you don't win at step 3, they go on to 4 and 5. And I put little asterisks. This is the lawyer in me. These are defined terms. First question, are you working? Remember when I said you've decided to cut back on your work, okay? And now you're applying. Well, I'm still working. Oh, I guess I shouldn't apply. No. Working is a defined term. It means earning substantial, gainful, or performing substantial, gainful activity. Substantial means something, gainful means something, the activity we all get. Working is defined on an index. So this year, it used to be a flat rate. It was $200 a month, I think, for many, many years. And then somebody finally said, you know, working what it used to be, we all earn a lot more than that now. And so it's indexed. This year, it's $1,010 a month. Okay? So if you have been working and earning more than that, and you cut back, and you are now grossing $1,010 a month, you're no longer, as far as Social Security is concerned, working. Okay? The next question is, okay, you're not working, so you have to win it, or you have to move on. To move on, you have to be not working. So now you're not working, but do you have a severe medical condition? Are you not working because you have a medical condition? Or are you not working because you've decided to take care of the kids, or you want to work part-time to travel more, or, okay, so you have to have a severe medical condition. But what's a severe medical condition? It's something that's diagnosed. We look at your medical records. What are all your conditions? Think about it as, you know, you've seen your medical records. It's that problem list that the doctor lists every single time you see them, and it's this long list of things. You know, mine includes something about my thyroid. Well, it's diagnosed, but it isn't causing me any problems, but it's a severe medical condition just because it's at least diagnosed. And it's a medical condition, okay? We're going to discount things like, you know, I just wanted to travel, or my husband is very sick, so I've decided to take time off of work. So we're going to discount things that aren't medical. Then the next question is, and this is the primary one for people who are applying with cancer diagnosis or some other major medical condition. Does your medical condition meet or equal a listed condition? It's a long list. It's 14 sections long, and each part is broken down. It's down further. And so as you can imagine, it lists things like malignant cancer. But it also lists things like diabetes. Okay? So we'll talk about about how you meet or equal a listed condition in a minute. Then if your condition doesn't meet or equal a listed condition, we'll still find you disabled if you can't return to your past work. What's past work? Well, we talked about what work is. It's work at a certain income level, earning enough. And your past work is work you've actually done. Okay? It's not, well, you could always go be a secretary and sit down. Well, I've never been a secretary before, I don't know. No, it's your past work. If you can't do your past work, then the next question is, can you do any work? And literally, Social Security means any work. And here, we are not talking about work that earns you $1,100 or $10 a month. We're only talking, it doesn't matter what it earns you. At minimum wage, it's, what, 700 and something. It's any work, which is substantial gainful activity, which means that it pays, and you can do it full time. And this is, I think, where a lot of people think, well, they mean if I can get, you know, any job. Well, no, they mean if you can work full time, 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, every week out of the month, okay? So that's what they're looking at. It's Social Security for adults is based on the ability, whether you can go to work, okay? But again, you're not the determiner of disability. You're also not the determiner of can you go to work. So don't sort of put your own thoughts on, well, I know what it means to be able to go to work, and I certainly can't stop doing anything. I can still get out of bed, so I must be able to work. No, Social Security sets the standard quite a bit higher than that. Okay. So I said we were going to talk about the medical listings, and I brought with me just a part of it. As I say, it's 14 body systems. Number 13 is malignant diseases. It includes a listing for ovarian cancer. My friend met the listing. They looked at her records. They saw one diagnosis. They saw her doctor had diagnosed non-germ cell implanted on the bowel. She's done. Okay? And you may have heard that there's a question of, well, how long have you been disabled? For some conditions, there is a question of duration, 12 months. You have to have been disabled for 12 months. The question is, how long will you be unable to work? That's what the question is. Have you already been, or will you not be able to work for 12 months? There's a presumption with certain listings, and the malignant diseases is one of them. You have to have a diagnosis. That's it. Okay? So, if you've been diagnosed with something that your doctor has said, this is a disability, you need to think about applying, you can ask them, you mean it meets the listing? If they say yes, then you're sort of you're putting out the effort to keep working, you can stop. You can stop and apply. That doesn't mean you will decide to do that. It depends on your finances and stuff. And consider this. This is a generalized. This is not a specific decision as to how it's affecting you. This is a generalized decision about how this normally affects the most people who are diagnosed with this. So, are they going to sort of err on the side of, where we've picked this point at which you need a listing, but some people work with this condition. Sure. Some people don't work even before this diagnosis. So, or stop work at a point that is small, lesser than that diagnosis. But you can also equal the listing. Say they read your record and you don't meet the listing for ovarian cancer, but you have another condition which the doctor says is complicating your treatments or complicating your recovery. Social Security considers everything in combination. Every severe medical condition, they combine. Okay? They don't say, well, if you're disabled by the diabetes, we'd find you disabled. If you're disabled by the cancer, we'd find you disabled. They look at you as a person with cancer and diabetes. Put the combined. So just briefly, what if I don't meet the listing? What if my condition is not yet exactly what the Social Security regs say is per se disabling? Then Social Security will go on to consider your age, your education, your work history, and what you can reasonably do despite the limitations caused by your medical conditions. Okay? And again, this often is something that another step where people are found disabled. It is, and the age issue is not, does your age make you disabled? Social Security doesn't consider it that way. Social Security considers age as to your sort of vocational vitality. How likely is it that at 58, 62, you're going to learn a new skill? Go out there and just completely redo yourself so that you can do a job where you're sitting, whereas normally you've been doing a job where you're standing, okay, you're on your feet all day. So there's age, education, work history, and skills, and what your doctor, and this is a place where your doctor will have a large component of the determination. What your doctor says he or she expects that you are able to do really comes into play. So we've talked about when to apply or when to think about applying. What do I need to apply? Again, I see far too many people who put a lot of effort into getting a lot of things together before they apply. You don't need to do that. You don't need to do that. You need your Social Security number. You need to make a statement of your age. Social Security will then say either we have a record of that or we don't have a record of that. You'd be surprised. Most of us, they have your record of your date of birth. And we need the names and addresses of your medical providers because Social Security is going to gather your medical records. You don't need, and I wouldn't encourage anyone to go out and get your medical records to bring them to Social Security. Okay? And your employment history for the last 15 years. That's so they can determine what's your past relevant work. Something you did 20 years ago is no longer past relevant work. But something you've done in the last 15 years is. You will not need the medical records themselves, statements from your medical providers. And again, don't wait till you have all of that stuff gathered. Have a conversation with your doctor if that seems appropriate to you, if you trust your doctor to talk about this. If you don't need your doctor's blessing, and you certainly don't need a statement or a letter from them, it's probably not going to be relevant. Oh, and at this point, I did want to say Social Security's online application is quite good about this. You can start the application, you can see what it's going to ask for, you can then leave the application, sort of like, many online applications now are doing much better at this. And then you have a secure password to come back in and finish completing it. Once you've applied, once you've decided to apply and you've started an application, you'll want to keep Social Security updated. Much as they know about us, they won't know if you move, they won't know if you change doctors. If your doctor says something has changed, or you've noticed that something has changed, don't forget to tell Social Security. The process does move faster depending on how you're doing, okay? If you're still working, but are sort of scaling back, Social Security, and Social Security is gathering your records, they're just going to go about it in an ordinary way. But when certain conditions are diagnosed, things can be expedited. There's something called the compassionate allowance list. If your diagnosis has changed, you want to tell Social Security, because if it's on the compassionate allowance list, it could mean that you're found eligible much, much faster. If you restart work, you want to tell them that, because it matters as to how they figure your payments, but not as to whether you're going to get paid. We'll talk about that. I encourage people to report in the easiest way. We'll talk about phone. If you've started an application, go back to it online. But use the toll-free number sparingly. As much as I love the website, I think their toll-free service is abysmal. I think it's just terrible. I have no idea where you're calling when you call it. I think it's someplace in Kansas City. And they're just frequently incorrect. Don't take their word for just about anything, okay? Yes, we got that paperwork. I wouldn't believe them. No, we didn't get that paperwork. I wouldn't believe them in that either. Find a local Social Security office that you want to visit. You can visit any office. It doesn't matter where you live. Don't let anybody tell you you have to go to the one if you live in Minneapolis and your zip code is this, well, you must go to the Brooklyn Center office. I don't like the Brooklyn Center office. I would choose the Edina office if I had to choose. But the Minneapolis office is very proficient, very good. They handle a lot of paperwork. It's where you have to go to apply for a Social Security card anyway. So I think the Minneapolis office is great, but the Edina one is a lot less crowded if you want to walk in. Avoid the Brooklyn Center. If you talk to someone at Social Security, this is why I say you want to call the local office, because the toll-free number won't give you a name and they won't give you their extension because you can't call them back. You'll never talk to that particular person again. If you talk to someone at Social Security, you want their name, even just the first name or just the last name, whatever they'll give you, and an extension, because they've all gone to toll-free numbers, but they all have extensions, and so you'll want to know, I want to be able to call you back when I have X document, or to ask, did you get what I sent in, okay? What if I get denied? What if I apply and I get denied? This is the part where I think a lot of people say, this takes forever. This is what's wrong with the security system, it takes forever. Many people who apply, though, who know why they're applying, they've stopped work, they know that they've been diagnosed with something significant, get approved at the application stage. But if you don't, you need to go through all the stages just so that Social Security can check for any errors, and that's how people get on, and that is what takes a long time. The initial application stage should take no more than 3 months, but if you're not approved at the initial stage, the reconsideration stage takes a couple of months while they update records and review their decision, and then the administrative law hearing stage takes a long time. Again, that's why you want to keep Social Security informed. if you've applied and you're at any stage beyond the initial application. Because if your condition changes, you want to tell them so that they pull you back out of the system and could expedite a determination. You have 60 days to appeal any denial. It is really 60 days, but it must be in writing on a Social Security form, and calling does not count. So again, don't bother calling the toll-free number and saying, I'd like to appeal. They were foolish enough to take it, which some of them would be, it wouldn't count. It's worth it to appeal. Most people are denied when they apply. Many people are denied when they apply. But more people are approved when they get to the hearing level. That 13% that are allowed at the reconsideration level, remember that's Social Security sort of checking their own work, and they do make mistakes. And so a lot of, if they've made a mistake or they missed something quite obvious, then those people are usually caught at reconsideration. Do I need a lawyer? Not to apply. Not at all to apply. And I wouldn't encourage anybody to spend any time trying to find a lawyer to help you apply. Most lawyers don't help you apply. It's Social Security's duty. You paid for it, you've earned it. It's Social Security's duty to get what information they need from you. That's what they do best. To develop the record, that is to gather and pay for the medical records. That's one of the reasons why I don't want you to gather your medical records. The other reason that I don't want you to gather your medical records and give them to Social Security is, just to be on the safe side, Social Security is going to go get them again. They're not going to just take them from you. They don't know what you've done with them. They don't know if you've taken out things or put them out of order. They want them directly from the provider. They're also going to pay for that. And I know there's a commercial floating around right now where the attorney who says, we'll handle everything, including paying for your records. They're not paying for your records. By law, people applying for Social Security in Minnesota, their lawyers can get records for free. We helped write that law. I use it all the time because my clients can't afford their records. You can't afford to buy your records either. They cost a lot per page, but the lawyer's not doing anything special there. That's the law. And Social Security will even help with the paperwork when you request it. I understand from my friend who did the application online, she got a lot of help from the phone person. This is what you need next. This is what we meant by that. And they schedule consultative exams. They rarely do that in conditions of, seriousness like cancers, cardiology. They're rarely scheduling consultative exams. So again, don't be concerned about that Social Security is going to send you off to some doctor to get a new diagnosis. That rarely happens for people who are applying cancer. So you don't need a lawyer to do any of those things, but if you want to hire a lawyer, I would encourage you to look for an attorney who takes cases on a contingency basis. It's not illegal to say to someone, I charge up front. You pay me. I don't know what kind of condition you're in, so I'd like to be paid up front. It's not illegal. It would just be very foolhardy to hire them, okay? You want someone who only gets paid if you win. Then they take a portion of your back pay. But I encourage people to ask your friends, who did they use? Did they use someone? Did they like them? I know a lawyer, I'm going to ask them. Who would you send someone to? And then interview attorneys. If you're not comfortable with them, you're not going to want to keep them up to date. You're not going to want to contact them to say, what's the status of my case? So interview them and feel comfortable with the person that you're hiring. You can help with your case. You can help build your case by being aware of how your symptoms are impacting you and how they impact the work that you most recently did. So think about it that way. Keep a diary, keep appointment calendars. Be able to say, when was the last time you saw the doctor? When did you have that MRI? When did you have that bone scan? Don't work beyond your capacity. You need to have sort of an honest conversation with yourself about what you can do, what you think you can't do, and work up to that level. know what your benefits are, your own particular benefits, and then plan accordingly. Can I live on that? You know, do I have to work longer? What other things will I have in place when I go on Social Security disability? Because there are other benefits that come with it. And then if you hire a lawyer, make sure to ask a lot of questions. Know what decisions are up to you. They're not going to appeal without telling you. They're not going to say to you, oh yeah, I took care of all of that. You're going to want to know what decisions are up to me in this process. If a lawyer says, well, I assume you'll take care of that, ask questions. How do I do that? I'm not comfortable doing that. I want you to talk to my doctor. Find out if the lawyer will do that. So, Social Security approves and says you're disabled. Then Social Security will figure out what date to pay you from. And it's always by month. It's never the 15th of the month. You get paid on the 15th, you may receive a check, but you're not going to be found disabled as of the middle of the month. Your eligibility, so eligibility is the date you can be paid. Disability is the date you became too ill to work. Okay? For SSDI, it's 12 months after the disability began, which again is determined mostly by your medical records, and it can be up to 12 months before you apply. So if your work earned you little enough in the past 5 months, they may go back. If it earns little enough in the last 10 months, they can go back. If in fact you worked up and above the substantial gainful activity amount that we talked about up until last month, they could say, well, it'll start next month. Okay. SSI eligibility, on the other hand, is you have to have an application on file, and that's when we'll pay you. The beginning of the month after that. Not 12 months ago. Not however disabled you were 5 months ago. No matter how disabled you were last month, we will start paying you the month after you apply. If you think there's any possibility that part of your benefits will be SSI, that's why I encourage you to file right away, because they won't start paying the back benefit until the month after the application. Okay, and then just lastly, the real difference between the two programs, as I said, is income and assets. Income is either earned or unearned, and income affects Social Security and SSI differently. As I said, SSI is truly needs-based. All income counts. The SSDI check counts. That's why you don't get an SSI check if you get an SSDI check of a certain amount. The heartbreaking thing is that SSI is a lot less than SSDI usually. SSI is again indexed based on a cost of living adjustment, and this year it went up to $698 a month. SSDI is dependent on how much you earned and how much you paid into the system. Okay? The typical amounts are, I think the average amount for disabled payments this year was $1,300 a month. So it's not a lot, but it's based on, and then I think the maximum is somewhere around $1,600 a month. With SSDI, you can combine some work income without having it affect your check. So say my benefit is $1,300 a month, and I can work and earn $500 a month, so long as it is below the SGA limit, as I said, of $1,010 a month. I can combine those two. My SSDI check will still come. I will have my earnings, and now I've got, what does that have? $1,510. Unearned income depends on the source, and it impacts SSDI differently than work income does. It depends on whether the source is something that is supposed to be paying for a disability benefit. Then it can be offset against your disability benefit from Social Security. If it's a pension, which is not for disability. It's just because I've stopped working and I've got a pension and now I'm going to collect it. It doesn't count against SSDI. So you want to check with the insurer about what is this other benefit that I'm getting and how does it affect my Social Security. Assets. Assets are property, retirement accounts, cash in the bank, the boat, the car, okay? Social Security has, for retirement, survivors, and disability benefits, no asset limit. There's nothing you need to spend down to begin to claim your Social Security disability insurance. The one thing that I just really want to drive home to people. If you are getting, even if it's $800 a month, if it's not SSI, remember SSI is $698, so if you're getting $800 a month from Social Security and you receive an inheritance of $1 million, next month you will get $800 from Social Security. Okay? You win the lottery. As long as you're not returning to work, as long as it's not earned income, it's an asset and there's no asset limit. Okay? SSI mirrors in many ways the medical assistance asset limits. It's slightly lower, the $2,000 asset limit for a single adult, whereas MA, medical assistance, is $3,000. So this is where my work gets really complicated, helping people figure out how they're going to live on $698 a month, not have any savings, and maintain medical coverage. But that's what you get. That's what you get with SSI, even if it's only $1. So say my SSDI is $695. I'm going to get $20 because I get 2 checks, so I get a $20 disregard, so I'm going to get $20 from SSI, and then I'm going to get the difference between $695 and $698, which is $3. I'm going to get $23 from SSI. I've now got Medicaid. Okay? It's free, it's complete coverage, and I'll be covered by Medicaid. But I have to meet the asset limits. The asset limits are not a pure, well, what's my house worth? What's my car worth? Okay? Any house, as long as you live in it, doesn't count. As long as you live in it. Okay? Or a spouse or minor child lives in it. Any car, as long as you need it to get to a doctor, any car doesn't count. Okay? Not just an outfitted van for a disabled person, but any car. But second house counts. Second car counts. Bank accounts, IRAs, those things begin to count. And so at that point, you need good benefit planning with someone to figure out how to make sure that what you have fits. And then I'll answer questions after this as well.
Thank you, Mary.